We're in it, gang. A historic shift is unfolding all around us. The fall of globalism, the rise of a new conservative age, and I explain exactly what's happening and why in my most important book yet, America Awakened. This book gives you the full picture, how we got here, what it means, and what you need to know to be on the right side of history. So don't wait. Go to americaawaken.us and join the early access list today. The next chapter has already begun. What if I told you Donald Trump's presidency is about to be destroyed? Not by the Democrats, the legacy media, or inflation, but by a single decision that could drag America into another endless Middle East war. And here's the twist. The same voters who put Trump in office are demanding he stay out. This isn't just about Iran or Israel. It's about whether Trump will defy the deep state or become their latest puppet. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be exposing the high-stakes game being played with Trump's presidency and America's future. I'll show you the regime change plot in Iran, the neocons pushing for war, and why this crisis could shatter Trump's coalition literally overnight. Now, if you're tired of the same old lies that got us into Iraq and Afghanistan, hit that subscribe button because this is the video the establishment does not want you to see. Also, we're not just fighting an information war. There is another war that's happening that many of us don't know about, and it's in your gut. There's a battle between good and evil bacteria going on inside you right now that can determine the health of the whole of your body. And here's how you're going to win that battle. Kimchi 1 from Brightcore Nutrition is the fermented superfood your body needs to arm the good guys with the right weapons to defeat the bad actors once and for all. All health starts in the gut. So putting the right fermented superfood in your gut improves every aspect of your health, your heart, your brain, even the quality of your skin and the growth of your hair. Containing over 900 strains of beneficial bacteria in each capsule, Kimchi 1 supports healthy digestion, fortifies your immune system, and helps detoxify your body. Kimchi has also been shown to reduce risk of obesity and promote smaller waistlines by curbing appetite and naturally boosting your metabolism. Kimchi 1 is all natural, non-GMO, dairy-free, gluten-free, and 100% made right here in the USA. Today, you can get an exclusive offer by clicking the link below. Just use code Turley for 25% off your entire order, or for an even better deal, call my friends at Brightcore for up to 50% off your order and free shipping. Give them a call now at 888-897-0233. That's 888-897-0233.
Steve, a nuclear Iran is an unacceptable threat of seeing an atomic bomb detonated in the skies of New York or the skies of Los Angeles. And so our commander-in-chief, President Trump, I don't think he's going to allow that risk. We are going to demand the centrifuges, the nuclear capability be dismantled, and they either do so willingly or they'll be dismantled unwillingly.
The political establishment and legacy media are pounding the war drums as we speak, demanding Trump stand with Israel and launch strikes against Iran. The basic argument here is that Iran is currently facing unprecedented vulnerability and pressure on multiple fronts. So if ever there were a time to eliminate their nuclear program, it is now. This is due largely because of Iran's main regional proxies, Hezbollah and Hamas. They've both been severely diminished in the two-front war by Israel, as well as the Houthis in Yemen. Hezbollah's effectiveness has been dramatically reduced. Hamas has been forced largely underground due to the IDF offensive. Internally, a large portion of the population is supposedly restive and dissatisfied with the Iranian regime. The sanctions, particularly on Iran's oil exports, which have strained the country's economy and further isolated it diplomatically, are taking its toll on the whole of the population. And so the point is if ever there were a time to take out Iran's nuclear capabilities, it is now. But there is a counter-argument to that, a very important counter-argument. We talked about this in our video yesterday on the current state of the war. And that's the collapse of Israel's strategic doctrine of escalation dominance. Very important to make sure you understand what's really happening here. So historically, Israel wins wars very quickly by responding to attacks by Hamas and Hezbollah with disproportionately greater force, thereby deterring future aggression and retaliation. And while this approach has historically served Israel very well, analysts are noting that Israel's doctrine of escalation dominance has recently begun to fail. The conflicts in Gaza and Lebanon have gone way beyond the time frame that escalation dominance tends to dictate. And so this failure signals a fundamental shift in regional power dynamics that undermines Israel's traditional deterrence strategy. And this is making Israel desperate to try to lure the United States into this conflict, since United States forces would make up for that escalation deficit that Israel is currently experiencing. Moreover, we're finding increasingly that Israel's strikes on Iran aren't about defense. They're about regime change. They're, in effect, kill chains. Israel's decapitation attacks have eliminated 14 Iranian nuclear scientists and top generals. And then we're being told at the very same time that this is going to cause the Iranian regime to collapse. But again, we were told the very same thing about Russia. We were told the Russian economy was collapsing. It's stronger now than ever. We were told that Putin regime was collapsing. Heck, we were told that Putin was dying of cancer. And it seems we're witnessing the exact opposite in this case as well. The brutal reality is that Iran's government does not appear to be collapsing. It's been around for 40 years, and its structure is relatively intact. It's very strong. The Iranian military remains very loyal to the regime. That's what the entire military structure is there for in Iran, to protect the regime, which they see as holy. They see it as sacred, as the sole true head of the Shiite global world. And it appears that Iran's population is not rising up. They're largely rallying behind the regime. Again, exactly what we saw with Russia. And again, counter to these claims of Iran buckling, the Iranian retaliation has actually been rather fierce. Their missiles are hitting deeper and deeper into Israeli territory, breaking past their Iron Dome defenses, exposing the myth of invincibility. And now we're getting reports that Israel's begging Trump for help, even claiming that Iran was behind 2 previous assassination attempts against Trump, which would be an act of war. And they also appear to want to try to force Iran to close the Strait of Hormuz, which would trigger the 1980 Carter Doctrine, which would force the United States to take military action against Iran. But let's not forget America's last Middle East adventure at the behest of the neocons, right? The Iraq War, which cost us trillions. That's right. You heard that right. That's a T, trillions of dollars. And more importantly, it cost us 4,500 American soldiers' lives. And what was the result of all of that? ISIS, chaos, and a betrayed public. So the lesson here, regime change is a fantasy, and Trump's base knows it. I don't care how many lectures we get on Fox News. Bottom line, the data does not lie. Our good friend Rich Barris of Big Data Polling, the most accurate pollster of 2024, he's finding that the polling is very, very clear. Voters, especially Trump's base, do not want the American military to go to war in the Middle East. Voters do not want the American military to go to war in the Middle East. A recent Quinnipiac poll found that 71% of Americans oppose more Middle East wars, including 63% of Republicans. Even evangelical support for Israel has dropped 12 points since 2020. And Trump's base, particularly working class voters in Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, Pennsylvania, they are absolutely dead set against this. They want us to bring our troops home, not to Tehran. Bring our troops home, not to Tehran. And Rich Barris, as well as Robert Barnes, they had a very good episode yesterday on Rich's podcast. They were arguing if the past is precedent, right? If history is normative here, the political risk for Trump is huge in all of this. Just think of how George Herbert Walker Bush won the Gulf War but ended up losing re-election, or how LBJ's Vietnam disaster handed power to Nixon, or how Truman's involvement in Korea handed power to Eisenhower. In other words, if past is precedent, if Trump starts this war, it does look like he will face at least some significant revolt from the very same voters who stormed the polls in 2016 and 2020 and 2024. So we have to then ask, who on earth would benefit from the collapse of just such a coalition? Well, of course, it's the same people who are pushing Trump into this war trap. It's the neocons, the usual suspects, Lindsey Graham and the like, demanding overwhelming force and comparing Iran to Nazi Germany. And we have to stop Nazis, don't we? It's the Pentagon bureaucracy who are still mired in a Cold War mentality and who are largely beholden to military-industrial complex stockholders. And, of course, it's the legacy media, most especially the neocons at Fox, who are busy framing neutrality as abandoning our allies, knowing full well that a war with Iran would destroy the MAGA populist coalition, which is exactly what they want to do. But the key here is that the MAGA base isn't just skeptical. They really are, frankly, furious. And you're seeing it online. You're seeing it in the forums and the surveys. You're seeing it among the influencers. No more wars is the number one issue for 55% of Trump voters under 45. Trust in Netanyahu has collapsed to under 40%, around 39% among conservatives. 67% believe the United States leaders care more about Israel than they do about Americans. 67%. Even Trump's closest allies are breaking ranks over this. Tucker Carlson is calling this push for war insanity. Steve Bannon is warning this war will destroy Trump's legacy. Now, the good news in this, the good news is that Trump is very responsive to his base. I mean, we just saw this with the reversal of his order for ICE to stop raiding farms and factories. He openly reversed that, especially after we're seeing a flood of American citizens apply for those jobs. So while political wonks might find that kind of reversal inconsistent on Trump's part, I think they call it strategic ambiguity. I think it reflects Trump, the businessman, Trump, the entrepreneur, who has this keen business sense. He floats a trial balloon, or in business terms, he beta tests an idea, and if the customers, i.e. the base, don't like it, then he pivots, just like a good businessman or entrepreneur would. And so I think he's very acute to the sentiments of his base and very receptive of where they are. Again, loyalty is the number one attribute that Trump values, and it works both ways. So if his base makes enough noise, historically at least, he listens. And in the end, I do believe that Trump will navigate the perplexities of the situation in such a way that is faithful to his MAGA base who've been so loyal for literally the last decade since he came down the escalator in June of 2015. So, when all is said and done, though, all of this said, the stakes really could not be higher. If Trump starts this war, he flirts with economic disaster, he flirts with a coalition collapse, and he flirts with the destruction of his legacy. But if he says no, he solidifies his America First brand, he exposes the deep state, and he positions himself as the first real peace president in generations. The choice is clear, and his base is watching.